What's up, collectors? GV back with another video. Yep, I'm doing another one. I feel like at the end of every YouTube video, I say, who knows if it'll be the last one. And thus far, I think this is video number 4 that I'm making. So I guess I should probably stop saying that. I do enjoy it. I don't know, how it's going to evolve, beyond just me talking and, shooting the shit. But, we'll see. So this is a topic that I brought up in a few groups. You may have seen some polls that I had put out there, and we'll get to it. I have an entire slideshow to go through and kind of explore some of the results around that main topic of crafting the ideal statue company. But before we do that, just a kind of a few updates since the last video. I guess I'll go ahead and share. So update 1, I did end up pre-ordering the Iron Studios Beast. I had mentioned in my, pre-orders or potential pre-orders for this year that it was a statue I was looking at. It was an accidental pre-order, and I don't mean that in the cute sense of, oops, I accidentally. No, this really was accidental. I was up late one night and Collector Zone had put out a post with a promo code that they cited would offer a substantial discount on your order. And it's a Collector Zone is not a site from which I had ordered in the past. So I created an account, looked at the Beast, which they do a slightly increased price, but it includes shipping, and put in the promo code, and it brought the price of the Beast down to, I want to say, about $760, $770 shipped, and it is an $850 retail price on like Sideshow. So I put in the code and I went through PayPal to purchase it. Typically you go to PayPal and it lets you choose, which card or bank account or the balance or wherever you want the money pulled from. And then it typically takes you back to kind of a final page on the website where you can review the order and the payment method before you hit, finalize the order. And there was no page that it went back to. So I went to PayPal, chose my payment method, and it went back and it automatically charged. And when I realized that I didn't have this big, oh no moment, and I wasn't thinking, ooh, let me reach out and get this canceled, I realized, okay, yeah, I really do want this statue. I like it a lot. And it's funny because that has evolved from, I think I like it, to, yeah, I want this piece. So, it's a big boy, At first I was a bit unsure because it doesn't have the typical, Sentinel or Danger Room base that does account for the majority of my X-Men statues, but I had to really not soul search. It's not like this wasn't a huge, groundbreaking decision, but I did have to kind of remind myself that a part of my vision for any of my collections, even though I guess I technically only have 2, but specifically my X-Men collection, was I want my favorite version or the best version, of course that's very subjective, of the character that is available from a licensed company. And very rarely will I move to a custom. I mean, it really has to be kind of not necessarily desperation, but last resort. So, there's 2 Beasts available from licensed companies. XM Studios Beast, which I know apparently it's not underscaled, but it just looks small, and it looks small for how much it costs, even in the from a reseller. So this, I feel like I'm getting a lot more statue. I love the sculpt of the fur. I really love the color. I love the expression. And I know that for a lot of people, this is, if they order it or just kind of passing judgment on it, that everyone was pretty excited for this face sculpt over the other one, screaming portrait. But I think I like the kind of grumpy, stern face. The statue does look a bit weird from the side, but I'm never going to see it from that angle. So yeah, pre-ordered this. Um, for I think there was a lot of discord when it first was revealed in regards to, where is this coming from? Is there a comic basis for it? I personally don't care whether there's much of a comic basis for it, but for those wondering, it does seem to be, if it's going to be inspired by any version of the character, it is from Extreme X-Men. You can see the straps around his shoulders. Of course, it is a bit of a different costume, but um, you can kind of see, the X logo towards the left arm, and you can see the X logo there. He also has shorts. Now, this is not the only iteration in which Beast has had shorts, but he does. And he's also wearing gloves. Now, in the actual comic, I believe the gloves are black. They can barely be seen in the right photo, but on the left, which is cover art for one of the comics, I want to say Extreme X-Men 3, maybe 4. They are yellow. Of course, in the statue, they went with the kind of a brown and black with some yellow highlights. It is what it is. I can look past it for the overall piece, which I really like. So another update, I'll give a huge shout out to Rad Titan, and all the success that they are seeing right now. But they have done a multitude of contests, for the community. They have a ton of partners that are offering some pretty neat prizes. And I just so happen to have won a pair of Magicase Max 140s, which is freaking incredible. And I actually missed it. I watched the stream and I didn't realize that my name was stated, and it's because I enter it. I guess the way Gleam works is, you enter in a bunch of ways. Like, you get different entries based on things that you do, and usually with statue groups, when they do it, you can get one through Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. So it pulled my name, I guess, from my Instagram entry, and for some reason it pulled an old Instagram name, and I just didn't even recognize that it was mine, because I don't use that name anymore. So that was cool. Obviously I did catch it. I was in contact with Alex after he reached out to me. Really do appreciate that. But yeah, so I don't know when these will come in. I have no idea, but it's a nice surprise. It's really cool. I was looking at Magicases at one time, and at some point I may still go the Magicase route, but I do have my X-Men collection on slightly modified garage shelves, and I'm okay with that for the time being. Now, for these Magicases, I'm thinking that I'm going to, one of them will house my quarter scale horror collection. They don't take up a lot of space. Not even a foot across. So I would say maybe 10 inches, their rounded bases are. So I can fit a fair amount in there, I would think. At least 5 without feeling super cramped. So, and right now I have Michael Myers and Ghostface, Leatherface on pre-order from PCS. And at some point I'd like to add a Freddy and a Jason, and that's kind of it for me, There are some other characters, but I know that they are very much less likely to be made, so I'm okay with that. Then in the other one, my thought was that I may move my Prime 1 Godzilla to fit in there, and then it would still have a little bit of space left to add another 1 or 2 smaller scale statues. Again, kind of in that horror monster realm. I'm thinking that I will be interested in Tweeterhead's Wolfman, or kind of, I don't know what name they're going to use for it, but the werewolf for their Myths and Monsters line. That's one that I'm probably going to be pretty interested in. And I know they're coming out with a couple of others. Medusa has been teased, and then some other things. So maybe put a couple of those in there with Godzilla. But then, and here's the real addict coming out. I thought, well, one of the Magicases absolutely will go to my quarter scale horror line. Right now they're up there on these old Besta shelves, and I'd like to get rid of those. So one is accounted for, but the other one, I also thought, well, I could start a new line, have a nice, beautiful Magicase open for it. And then the responsible me came out and said, well, you know what? Let's not do that. I think Godzilla would look really nice in a Maji case. And I do have a vision that I'm trying to stick to, for financial purposes and space and box space in the storage unit and things of that nature. So anyway, thanks again to Rad Titan and Maji Space for, teaming up and offering this contest that I won. And all the other contests, I think it's really cool for them to give back, with all their success that they've had. And then lastly, since the last video, I did record an interview on Thor Gunderson's Just Asking for a Friend series from DCX, in which he interviews, a variety of people within the collecting space, and for the purpose of getting to know the person behind the collection. And I thought it was a really intriguing interview. I didn't talk very much about collectibles, I'll tell you that. I'm not going to say too much. I'm not going to spoil a lot, but it really is a lot about just me and my life. So I thought it was pretty neat that I was asked. I don't know when that's going to come out. I leave that to them, to Thor and Norman to kind of figure out. But at some point in the future, you'll be able to watch that. So, and learn a little bit more about me if you want to. No biggie, no pressure. Something else that came up that I thought was interesting. I noticed in statue forums, someone was asking about the XM Magneto, the Dawn of X one, and how there's been no updates on it. And it got me thinking, and this may be a topic for a future video. I'm not going to speak a lot on it, but when it comes to statue companies and giving updates, what exactly do you expect from them? I know that, XM has their quarterly shipping updates that they haven't been on, or hasn't felt like they've been on top of as much. And then they had a lot of production holdups, and certain pieces were just moving to the next month. Like the Q4 2023 update was just things that didn't make it from Q1 of that year. I think XM Venom Arise was on Q1 2023 shipping update. And of course, now it's just getting out to collectors, with its own little bit of controversy. But so XM kind of offers that shipping update. And then, PCS does pre-order updates. So, hey, for this quarter, these are the pieces that we're kind of planning to put out for pre-order. That's neat. And then you have production updates. I don't know any statue company that offers those. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I think that you really get production updates primarily if you're in a custom group. So my thought was this: what is stopping a company from offering some sort of running active live update list? And so this is an example of Sideshows that, gives two pieces of data that are already, made, that collectors are made aware of, right? So the piece, and then the expected release range, and then just putting statuses. Superman PF, it just was announced. That is it. So it's still incoming soon. And this is just guess. I don't really know, but you have certain things that are on pre-order, and before they actually are in the queue for production at a factory. And I don't know, maybe they are automatically put in one, and it's going to be a long time, but you just say, okay, it's in the pre-order period, right? It's not really in the point of moving towards production quite yet. Then you can have certain pieces like maybe the Batgirl PF, which is scheduled to come out around August. It's probably gonna be closer to November, but August, and the Red Sonja. Those are two pieces that have about 6 months now before the start of their expected release range. Perhaps they're in pre-production, right? They are in the queue at the factory, or they're very close to hitting that in production mark. Then you have the Mr. Sin from the Pulp Vixens line, and that is the start of its range is coming up pretty soon, in a few months. I would hope that is a piece in production. Again, I don't really know what production times are, and how long they take. So, would something like this ultimately, right? You have coming soon, pre-order period, in pre-production, in production. Perhaps you put post-production or QC, right? It's in the quality control period, and then it's in its shipping period. I don't know. What is, is this something that you guys as collectors think would be reasonable to expect from a statue company? I don't think this would solve anything, honestly. There'll just be new things to complain about, new information, right? You'll have a piece in production, and you'll still get probably just as many people saying, "Hey, it's been in production for 3 months. What's going on? Where's my statue? Is something wrong?" Or pre-production, right? It's really hard to envision a perfect system, and I don't believe in perfect, but envision a system that will really mitigate collector complaints. I don't know, but it was interesting because this person was making comments about the XM Magneto, which went up for pre-order over 2 years ago. I believe it was the end of September 2022, and I have it on pre-order myself. And for him to bring that up, and then I noticed that the X-Force Wolverine from XM was put up for pre-order 5 months after that, and just got an assembly video released by XM, which is usually a sign that it's close to to being released, shipped out to collectors. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, so X-Force Wolverine jumps the line. Is there a reason for that? Was Magneto being made at the factory that saw, a year backup of Venom Arise or Maestro or some of the other pieces that seemed to have gotten really delayed from when they were first announced to potentially be shipping? So I don't know, but I think something like this would be really nice. Will it cut down on confusion or impatience or anything like that? No, I don't see it. So today's main topic, okay, crafting the ideal statue company. So what I did over the course of the past 8 days, I think, was I put up 10 different polls asking for collectors' feedback on which of 15 different statue companies they thought offered the best, fill in the blank. I did it across 10 categories, and I have all these subtitle things that I didn't get rid of because I wasn't going to put one, and I kind of forgot. But why did I do that? Why did I put up all these polls? Why did I even decide to pursue this topic? We talk all the time about the ability to offer constructive feedback to statue companies over being insulting or, disparaging. And I do think that's important. Do companies listen when people complain? Probably. I don't run a company, so I don't know for sure. I would assume. But I can also imagine that it's a lot easier just to ignore people who are bitching and complaining, without offering something that a company can actually use. Second is numbers. It's nice to have numbers. If you can back things up with some sort of objective, as real as you can make something objective in this hobby, if you can offer some sort of objectivity to back up what you're offering, then you get a little bit more evidence for your claims. 3 and 4. Who else is doing this? I assume companies, we know that they watch, and catch a lot of these live streams and videos within the community. But I don't know what they do with all of that. Sometimes you can see, oh yeah, it seems like they made a change. It might be because they heard all this commotion going on and things like that. But where's the data? I don't know what they're collecting. I don't know if they're being offered anything. I assume not. But we, as collectors, are the perfect focus group for any of the things that they're doing. There was a time in which XM had I don't know what you want to call it, some sort of private group where, a select number of collectors were a part of it and were able to offer feedback on some early scopes and concepts and things like that. And I can understand a lot of the reasons for dismantling something like that. I can understand why having it was a good thing for some people. And maybe it did offer insights that helped reduce a lot of backlash against some pieces, which is something they are getting a lot more now. But even outside of that, specifically for just the art direction, I asked not just for art direction, I asked collectors about, marketing strategies or, the sculpts and paint apps and things like that. I really wanted to capture, again, I wanted to limit it because I didn't want it to come off as overwhelming. I didn't want to flood the groups with, 20 polls, but I thought that it would just be a cool topic, something to, um, get the juices flowing a little bit, and maybe even I really see this as kind of a phase one. This is me fleshing out the idea. And what I think this could become is something a little bit more serious and something that could actually be offered to companies. So before I get into the results, and kind of talk about it, there are clearly in any poll, any experiment, anything along those lines, there's always going to be uncontrollable variables that are going to skew your results in one way or another. So, something that I noticed, and you will see with these polls, Sideshow Collectibles, XM Studios, and Prime One were received the greatest majority of all the votes, and they were the top three in every in all 10 of the categories I asked about. Um, and it's hard to control for company exposure and market share. Those are three of the biggest companies within the circles that I exist in. I think I'm in one, or I may have left it, but I was in one collectors group for anime statues. But majority of where I exist in the community in terms of social media is, comic and movie based stuff. So, that's something I couldn't really control for. Um, I limited myself to three groups, two based on numbers and one just based on this is where I do most of my posting. Now, if I wanted to really gather a lot of data, I would have extended myself across not just the number of groups, but again, what I was saying before, the themes of those groups, the types of collectors that tend to be a part of that group's community, so that some of these lesser, not maybe not lesser known, but maybe lesser known or lesser purchased from companies from the groups I'm in could get equal representation. Another one is company popularity, which a part of that is company exposure, but I link that more closely with the fourth one, IP preference and blind loyalty. Sometimes collectors are just going to choose what they like, not necessarily really think about who has the best this or that. Sometimes it's like, well, I like I don't know. I like Transformers pieces, and Prime One makes all my Transformers pieces. I love them. Prime One, Prime One, Prime One. I'm voting for Prime One for everything. I don't know whether that happened or not, but it is something that I couldn't control for. I allowed multiple votes within a poll, again, because this is partially for fun, right? I mean, let's face it, I'm not hired by these companies. I don't work for another company that has any relations with the statue companies. I am just a random person living in Asheville, North Carolina, who decided, hey, this would be kind of fun. So, collectors could vote for multiple companies within the same poll, and I'm sure a lot of these collectors are in all three groups that I asked, and they may have answered on more than one version of the poll. So, I could get two votes for a company, but it's really just the same, or three votes for a company, but it's really just the same person. Um, and then lastly, with statue company representation, I chose 15 companies. How did I form that list? I thought of 15 companies. So whoever came to mind. An example of someone I left out was Blitzway. I didn't think of them at all. But there are a number of companies that I'm sure Blitzway is really the only one I think that was brought up in terms of some of the more popular names. but there's a lot of companies that I don't know about that I've never seen a statue from. So, it was limited in that sense. So, collectors could have felt real limited. I mean, I did offer 15, but they may have still felt limited in terms of maybe I didn't have the company that truly represented their opinion. So, again, the whole purpose of this was to try and understand what crafting the ideal statue company looked like. And what that meant was from what exists now, right? So, this is crafting. So, when I think of crafting, I think of taking things that already exist and putting them together in a new way. This is not creating the ideal statue company or the perfect statue company where you're starting from scratch. This is, okay, what do we have? Let's look at what these companies offer across this variety of categories. And then we will, kind of pull pieces from different companies and put it all together. So those 10 categories were art direction, marketing, PR, public relations or community engagement, customer service, incentives, production materials, sculpts, paint application, bonus parts or swap outs, and packaging. So starting first, art direction received 207 total votes. Prime One Studio did win this one with a 40% of the vote. Sideshow not too far behind with 30%. Then you have XM at 9, Tweeterhead and Legendary Beast each got 5, PCS got 3, and then you kind of, some 1s and 2s that aren't named because, their representation was minuscule. So I thought this was interesting. I found it interesting that XM wasn't second. There are things in terms of art direction that I appreciate from all 3 of these companies. I have my ideal crafted company at the end. So I'll save my opinions for then. We'll keep this just to the numbers. So in terms of the ideal statue company, art direction will go to Prime One Studios. Next, we have marketing. I think another uncontrolled variable was collectors didn't necessarily know what I intended with these categories. So, you have marketing and then you have public relations and community engagement. So for marketing, I really did think of this solely in terms of how are companies sharing what's coming? How are companies sharing the statues that they're creating? So for me, Prime One taking more than half of this vote makes a lot of sense because I think of their, was it Studio Showcase? Is that what they're called? Where they show all these statues that are coming and things to be prepared for. That's a marketing tactic. They're not necessarily actively engaging with the community during those videos, right? It is probably pre-recorded and all of that. And then they, post it on, well, maybe it's not. I mean, they do go live, on YouTube, but the point is that, you're not taking, questions from the groups or from the community. You're just, hey, this is what we have coming. Take a look. Ooh and ah. So I think that is my favorite form of marketing that I see these companies do. Sideshow, they do have some community engagement events that, do have a bit of marketing to them. Like, oh goodness, why can't I think of the name? Well, I mean, there's so many of them now. I mean, every week there's something you can sign up for to get, $5 in Sideshow rewards for a limited time. But like Spooktacular, right? There's a bit of marketing in that, but that is mostly a community engagement event. So for me, marketing, 129 votes total. Prime One Studios taking that one. That one makes sense. I know there's been some discussion about Sideshow and how they used to do the videos. I guess kind of hype videos like for the Thanos on Throne, which I know is probably the most popular one to talk about. And perhaps moving back towards that would be really cool. I think that marketing with the use of the artists and the sculptors, which Sideshow has kind of done a little bit in terms of, I think Daniel Bell has been sharing some videos going live maybe and talking about some of the statues he sculpted. And I think he had Will Harbottle on one as well. I think that is really smart and gives you a different perspective than what we normally get. So, but anyway, marketing, Prime One Studios. All right. So far, the ideal statue company is Prime One Studios. All right. So looking at PR and community engagement, um, again, this is how they interact with the community. Sideshow, out of 135 votes, Sideshow took over half, 59%. PCS got a decent chunk here, 11%. LBS got 8, XM with 5, Prime One Studios, very low. This is a topic that I have a lot of mixed feelings about. There's a lot of times where I will note, I don't need a statue company to fill me in on everything. I buy toilet paper from the store. I never need to know anything else other than I'm buying my toilet paper. I buy groceries from the grocery store. I never need to know anything else. I buy my shirts from wherever I buy my shirts from. I don't need to know anything else. I buy my statues from statue companies. Most of the time I don't need to know anything else. You offer product, I buy product. I am 100% comfortable with that being the only exchange. But I understand that within the community, there are a lot of collectors that like to have more engagement, within the groups, asking questions, asking opinions, things like that. And then you have someone, and I think that's something that PCS is doing. XM used to a lot more, a little bit, now and again. But Sideshow has, as I was just saying, events throughout the year. They do contests during these events, live streams, game shows, drawing contests, all kinds of fun little things if that's kind of what you want. So, I think Sideshow is very active in the community. Again, it's not in the same way. Sideshow isn't going out making posts saying, hey, what do you think of this? What are your thoughts about this? But they do have they do actively engage. They have all these hosts that we know by name, or people know by my name, because I'm thinking, I don't know any of them. Is Amy one? Maybe there's an Amy. I don't know. But I know a lot of the collectors, they know these hosts by name. So I think that's pretty neat. It's cool. But that does finally break the ideal statue company from just being Prime One Studios. Customer service, 93 total votes. Sideshow with a landslide. This has been a long discussed topic. Sideshow Collectibles customer service being, number one in every way. Easy to use, very responsive. They work with you. You usually get the issues resolved. So no surprise there. Customer service goes to Sideshow Collectibles. Incentives was an interesting one. I order primarily either from Sideshow or I order from a retailer. Cosmic Chase, typically. I have also ordered from Spec Fiction. And now, of course, I have an order through Collector Zone. But primarily, I order through Sideshow. And I have one pre-order with PCS. But so when it comes to incentives, I've never ordered. Well, crap. I say that, but I did order the Godzilla through Prime One, but that's because of the super sale. But like XM, I've never ordered directly from XM because the things I order or I want from them, they aren't licensed to sell in the US. So I don't really know what the incentives are. The only incentives I ever really think about are, some sort of reward points. And I think a lot of companies and retailers have some sort of system in place. And then through PCS, you have the new one where you get, someone can get the fancy platinum coin, I think, or something along those lines, which I know has been a butt of some jokes. But I don't know. Is there only points? Some sort of reward, you get money back in some way that you can then use for certain pre-orders. Is that the majority of what companies have? Because I do believe that would be true. Is that what collectors are cool with? Is there another incentive? Really? I guess if you set your ES from the beginning, right, and you have an exclusive version with a lower ES, then you have the incentive to order early, and get a statue that is more limited. Is that an incentive that collectors want? I hear that sometimes. But so Sideshow takes this one. I think it could have gone to a couple of companies, maybe. Does Prime One do that as well? I don't know. I've never checked my Prime One account after I ordered the Godzilla. So, I think Sideshow rewards were really atop of the food chain because there was no expiration a few years back. So I was stashing, which I know is part of the reason why they added an expiration date, because people like me would hold on to have hundreds of dollars in rewards, and then I'd buy a statue for virtually free. And now it's a year, which should be enough, but sometimes it takes them a long time to come out with another statue I want to order. So, but yeah, so right now the Ideal Statue Company is a mixture of Prime One and Sideshow collectibles. Spoiler, it doesn't change very much. Production materials. So this one didn't get as many votes. That's fine. This and the next one didn't get as many votes. And those were polls that I posted at the same time. I was trying to kind of speed the process up. And I believe they both went. I posted them both on Wednesday, which was Valentine's Day. So hopefully this low number means that all the collectors were, out doing Valentine's Day things. Maybe not. I don't know. But production materials, this is one where I struggled to really understand what exactly I was asking. Because in one sense, I'm thinking, well, it could mean what they make their statues with. So, for example, Sideshow didn't get any votes. Which could that mean, could their use of mixed media and fabric cost them? Because maybe there's a bunch of, maybe the 42 collectors that voted didn't like that. They don't want that material. Or is it citing that, hey, when I get this piece in and I feel it and all of this other stuff, it doesn't feel as high quality as something I get from XM Studios or Prime One Studio or J&D, something like that, right? This one was hard. And this is one where I think in the future could be sparsed out into a few specifics. But Prime One Studio takes this one, XM and J&D following behind. J&D, they do a lot with silicone, right? So, people who don't care for silicone, they wouldn't vote for these companies that use that. J&D, does Queen use? I don't know. I don't know who uses what. Maybe Queen does it in their busts. I don't know. I'm never ordering those things. So I don't order, comic movie stuff. But anyway, so Prime One takes this one. I've had Prime One. I've had XM. I've had Sideshow. I haven't had Iron Studios yet. I have had a custom. It's kind of hard. Like if I lift my Ghostface statue, and I lift the Sideshow Wolverine PF, will I notice a big difference? And I'm not talking about weight. I'm talking just about the kind of overall feel, right? Not just the mass, but the material. Will I notice a difference? Probably not. But there are some small nuances that are really hard to verbalize and conceptualize. Like when I'm putting an XM Studios piece together versus when I'm putting a Sideshow piece together. And it's not across the board. I put the Sideshow Juggernaut together and then I'm feeling like, yeah, 1,200, 1,300, however much I spent on that. Oh yeah, I feel it. And it's not just in the weight. It's just in the textures and in the polystone and all that stuff. I don't know. And then you kind of have all the, polystone versus resin versus polyresin versus when XM used to label cold cast porcelain, which I don't know that they actually did things in porcelain. I feel like it was still probably polystone. I don't know. Someone could correct me on that. So this one was really hard for me to even conceptualize, but I did get some votes for it. Again, Prime One Studios takes that one. So sculpts. I went back and forth between asking about sculpts and sculptors. And I realized that sculptor was perhaps a bit more subjective than just asking for kind of overall sculpts. And also you can like a sculptor and maybe not like what they've done for a company. So I thought that would cause even more confusion. So I just went with sculpts for this one. I got 160 votes. Prime One Studio with almost half of them. Sideshow and XM virtually tied. J&D got some, a lot of studios got some love here, which was nice. I think I don't know. I want to say I expected Sideshow XM and Prime One to maybe split this in a way in which they were pretty close to equal. But I will say, Prime One does offer so many IPs, and I'm not saying that Sideshow doesn't offer a lot too. XM maybe a little bit more confined in the IPs they offer, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's fine. This is what you guys voted for, not me. So Prime One has the best sculpts, I guess, or at least within the 160 people who voted. So again, so far it's Prime One and it's Sideshow. Paint application, 103 votes. Prime One Studio ran away with this one, and then XM followed close behind, and then J&D. So I've only had one Prime One well, I have the Godzilla now, but before this, I just had the Prime One Venom, and I thought that the way Venom was painted, primarily black, but it had these dark blue undertones that you could see in certain lights, but it wasn't so in your face that Venom looked blue. Was my favorite painted Venom ever. And to be honest, I don't know that I've seen one through video, of course, that compares or beats it in my eyes. Now, the Godzilla is really cool, but it's Godzilla, who has a lot of it's made primarily of muted colors. I'm looking at it, that's why I'm looking this way. And the buildings and the ground is all destroyed and dusty and destroyed. So, there's not a lot of there is plenty of separation in the paints. Don't get me wrong, it looks fantastic. But it's a little bit hard to tell as a complete representative of how the company does. But it's freaking awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm trying not to talk about my opinions because I'll talk about that at the end. But Prime One takes this. So far, the Ideal Statue Company is pretty much Prime One for all of the actual statue stuff, and Sideshow for more of the behind the scenes deal with the customer, and then the incentives. So it's kind of interesting. Bonus parts, swap outs. I think the most important thing to note here is Sideshow got 2% of this vote and have virtually taken themselves out of this completely. It's really hard for me to even remember what recent Sideshow statues have an exclusive or have bonus parts or switch outs, which is completely fine with me. But again, I'll talk about my opinion later. So this one really was just Prime One or XM. Prime One, less about who offers the best ones, right? Because that's going to really depend on the piece. But Prime One just offers a crap ton. My goodness, they offer, what they have they have normally a regular version, a standard version, and then they'll have an exclusive, and then a deluxe or deluxe exclusive. I don't remember what all their terminologies are, but man, Prime One will offer you, 4 head sculpts, 3 left arms, 4 right arms. I'm surprised they don't offer an alternate base. So, yep, Prime One for that one. So far, really, the Ideal Statue would come from Prime One Studios. And then, again, kind of the rest of the stuff handled would be Sideshow. So now we go to packaging, and we finally have someone else taking victory. XM Studios with a super strong 82% of the vote out of 76. Yeah, no argument from me. Sideshow's packaging is fantastic. Really good quality white styrofoam straps. But man, the suction on those damn inner boxes. I guess it's technically would be their art box, but I think they all look the same. Oh, I don't pull them out. So I only see the top. I know that the sides still have different things. But it's a real pain in the ass to pull the top off, because I leave it in the shipper box because I don't want to remove I don't want this to be a Russian nesting doll type of thing. So trying to pull that thing off. So I don't know if it's easier if you pull that black box out of the shipper box and then open it, but man, especially with the size of some of their boxes, I feel like I'm having to like reach all, or, kind of get one corner, get the other, and wiggle it up all the way. And my goodness, please tell me I'm not the only one that struggles with that. Maybe I'm just a weakling. So yeah, I wasn't surprised by this. XM takes packaging. So this is based on votes, and I don't have a total vote count. I can add that up. I do have all the data in a spreadsheet, but the Ideal Statue Company looks like this. Pretty much Prime One Studios will make the statue. Prime One Studios will show you the statue it's making. XM will package it for you, and Sideshow will give you everything else. They'll play games with you. They'll run the customer service department, and you have their incentive system. So yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. So difference between mine is I would have XM a little bit more in here. For me, I like XM's art direction. I know that they have been crapped on a lot recently, but ultimately and as of what is remember, this is based on what is offered right now. XM offers strong, sometimes too strong, I'll agree, but they offer strong modernizations in their sculpts and in their designs, and that's what I like. I like modernizations. I like a sense of realism and textures, and I think XM offers that. Prime One does as well. I think Prime One probably finds a better balance in terms of a modernization to source material, and I know that's really important for some people. Not as much for me. So, but I also wonder if Prime One Studios made quarter scale X-Men, whether I would feel differently. But I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what their art direction would be like ultimately. So right now for me, art direction goes to XM Studios. I like what they're doing. I don't love everything, but I do like what they're doing. I like what Prime One Studios is doing too. And I like some of the things that Sideshow is doing, especially recently. I feel like Sideshow's putting out some real bangers that maybe aren't getting as much love as I think they should. Again, going from art direction to sculpts, I think XM is offering some really cool stuff. Ultimately, and I don't know where I'd really put this, but I think I put it with sculpt. For me, it's bases. And bases are something I never thought I'd care about. And I'm not saying I necessarily do, but there's something that Prime One Studios does that I absolutely hate, grosses me out. And that's sub bases. Hate sub bases. Don't put a sub base. I don't want some artsy round piece underneath my statue. If it's going to be rocks, just extend the rocks out. If it's going to be metal destroyed stuff, just make more metal destroyed stuff around. Don't give me sub bases. Don't like it. Hate it. I don't think I have any sub bases anymore on any of the no, I don't. No. Yeah, I don't like the sub base. I like it to kind of feel fluid from character to the base, and that's it. I feel like, yeah, I don't like sub bases. I'm not trying to start a thing, but I don't like them. So for sculpts, I am going with XM on that. Part of that is how they do their bases. But I like what they're doing. I like the details that they're putting in. I like where their focus is. Sure, it doesn't always result in a pristine overall product, right? They may miss the marks in some other ways, which I'm sure Prime One Studios does as well. But it's still enough that I'm not going to knock them off of that pedestal for me. Now, they offer a few more Mr. Sinisters the way they have, which surprisingly has never resurfaced again. And maybe I'll be looking a little bit more at Prime One or Sideshow, but for the time being, it's XM. So yeah, I think that was the only real changes. I wouldn't say that I feel super strongly about all of these categories, though as I'm looking at them, maybe I do feel pretty strongly about them. But, XM and Prime One are not the only studios making good statues. I just think that overall, what they offer as a whole has more bangers than not, or at least has more qualities that I enjoy than not. So again, one last look. This is what the vote said would be the ideal statue company. I'm interested in all your thoughts. Please comment below. One day I may be comfortable enough to, get on someone else's stream or have someone join me. I'm not there yet. So, but this I think is a cool conversation starter. So again, I think that there is a way to take this idea of gathering, a mass number of collectors' opinions on a variety of different, attributes of statues, of statue companies, and really be able to offer something substantial. So, in terms of moving forward, this was my thought. So, I did this by creating individual polls, right, on Facebook. But what I also thought afterwards was, wow, I could have just made a survey, right, through SurveyMonkey or something. So, one long form survey. So it's not, oh, I hope people get on this group page today and see the poll. Or I hope they're not rushing through and they pay attention to the poll, right? It's just one survey. So if they start it, hopefully they'll just finish it. And I don't know, what other categories should I add? Should I remove some? Should I, splice some and kind of divide it out? Like when I was thinking with like marketing or art direction, right? Like how art direction is a very broad term, because companies will have different art directions within certain IPs, certain lines. So that's really hard. What other companies should I include? I mean, I know Blitzway was one. Should it be divided up between, I mean, this would be hard because there's so many companies that offer multiple scales, but I was thinking, quarter scale versus third versus half versus full. So I think it's just easier just to keep it as here's all the companies that are possible. Where should all of this data be gathered? What groups should I reach out to? I know the ones that I'm a part of, but there's plenty more that I'm not aware of or I'm not a part of. And again, some that are going to be a lot more, are going to know more of these companies that I don't, or that those within my groups may not. Like getting this survey, if it was to be created into some anime groups, into, I don't know what else, right? Anime, cartoon or movie collectibles. Because I feel like, again, what I'm a part of is mostly comic. Yeah, there's a little movie, but it's mostly like comic and cartoon or animation based stuff. So, and I'm thinking too, rather than making people choose between companies, rating all the companies or rating the companies they at least are aware of. So kind of on 1 to 10, where does Sideshow fall in art direction? Where does XM fall? Where does Prime One fall? Right. And then you can kind of have all that data added up, and you can still have tops, right? Who got the highest ratings on average and things of that nature. So, I mean, that's just my idea. I don't know if it'll come to fruition or not. Who knows? I guess maybe we'll see if there can be enough Discord or conversation about this topic. And I don't know, if you guys have ideas, please reach out. You can find me on Facebook, which I recently changed my name away from my government name again. I'm back to Vega Just Vega on Facebook, which originally was done as a joke, not as a joke, but like everyone called me Vega. And then I did change it to my government name for a short time. But no one calls me Geraldo. But also there was, again, Vega Just Vega started as a joke, but as a mental health professional and as a therapist, sometimes I work within some volatile communities and with some volatile patients and clients and whatnot. And so it was important to kind of shield and protect yourself on social media from being found, located. So there is uh, some professional reasons why I keep my name from just being, my birth name. So, but otherwise, you can also find me at GV_reviews on TikTok. That is where I do all of my kind of movie and series and TV kind of stuff. YouTube again will remain for collectibles, because it is very, every once in a while. So yeah. So again, if you have ideas for this, I think this would be really cool to be able to collect this data, offer it to companies. Um, so if you have an in with the companies, that would be cool. So at some point when I have all this, potentially all these numbers and spreadsheet and graphs, and I can create a presentation and I can send it to them. Or if you just have ideas for how to construct this survey, what incentives I could use to get people to complete these surveys, right? Should I do a giveaway, or should I get on all these popular channels that are out there? To advertise. I don't know. I mean, what ideas do you have? Reach out. You can comment on this video, find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I don't know what my name is there anymore. I'm on TikTok. So, yep, that's it. Hopefully I'll see you guys again.